Hi, my name's Matt Pierce with Bell's Brewery. We're getting one with the fish in the sea, the fish on this guy. His name's Frank. Actually, I don't know if his name's Frank. His name might be Frank, but don't worry about Frank's name. I'm here to educate these girls on some delicious Michigan beer right now. So Bell's Brewery was founded by Larry Bell in 1985. So it is now 35 years old. We're in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is, as the Michiganders do, wait, which side? This side. It's that, it's right there. That part, right there.
That's a map.
That's a map, an official map of Michigan.
Okay, figure it out.
Bell's Two-Hearted IPA has won the Best Beer in America from Zimmergy Magazine the last 3 years in a row. Bell's has been in California now for 5 years, San Diego for 5 years, all the way up to Santa Barbara. And this beer is 100% Centennial hopped IPA. It's 7% alcohol, and it's just a nice, smooth. What's that? Yeah, 7%. So yeah. Centennial hops. Centennial brings out nice piney aromas. This beer especially just has a little bit more of a malt backbone that just rounds it out a lot better. 7% actually tastes pretty smooth. Like to try and hide the alcohol a little bit with it, but yeah, just nice full-bodied rounded Midwest IPA, or American IPA should I say, as is on the can, which the Midwest is in America, believe it or not, so both are right. All right, some little tasting notes on Two-Hearted Ale. You got nice pine aromas, a lot of grapefruit. It's a nice full-bodied IPA that goes down really smooth with a little bit of a malt backbone.
The best way to taste this is full throttle. Hit it, Shannon.
Sit down. So gross. Okay, now we're getting the backsplash.
Welcome back to Safari West while we safari in place. Anna Britt here, and we're gonna go visit everyone's favorite rhino, Waldy. Part of safarying in place means taking care of yourself, including self-care. So today, we're gonna give Waldy a pedicure and a mud mask. What do you think, buddy? You ready for your spa day? Good. Rhino toes are made out of the same protein that our fingernails and toenails are made of, keratin. So giving Waldy a toe trim is just as easy as filing like an emery board. Now that Waldy has his pedicure, he's ready for the next part of his home spa day, the mud mask. You've heard of a Dead Sea mud scrub? Wait till you check out Wachusett Lake mud. Well, that's all we have time for today on the Safari West Safari in Place. Make sure you comment below and let Waldy and I know, what do you do in your home spas? Do you do a nice mud mask? Do you give your friends pedicures? Comment below and let us know. We'll be waiting for your answer.
I'm here with Trevor from Brewery X. He just actually got out of jail. His mom called the head brewer. Head brewer gave him a job, so I'm glad you're here with us now.
Thanks for doing your background info. Appreciate it. I'm sure my mom's going to like it too.
I want to keep our attendees safe. Go ahead and look him up on Megan's Law.
There's nothing else going on in the world right now.
So tell us about Brewery X. Does it look like you reopened? What are people doing over here?
Yeah, we're good, you know. I mean, beer helps. At least having and drinking beer. By the way, thanks for taking so long to get set up. I might have to get a new beer here in a minute, but
maybe you should slow down.
You know what? So let me tell you about the brewery. So yeah, Brewery X is we've only been open for about 8 months. I guess it's one of the biggest breweries in Orange County. You know, we've got a great staff here. We make a lot of hoppy beer. We make a lot of lager beer. Good, clean, drinkable beer. Yeah, it's a fun place.
Well, on average, how many DUIs come out of this place every weekend?
None that I've heard of. Uber. It's this new thing. Do you have a phone with like an app?
I use Nokia. So I'm anxious to hear about the robotic Panda.
The Panda Pool Party? The beer you're here to review? Yeah, so the Panda Pool Party, really it's a bamboo lager, and that's kind of a new style. So we actually use real bamboo in it. It kind of gives it this like earthy, rustic taste to it.
Are you taking bamboo from the pandas to eat, to use it in your facility? And you're robbing them of what vegetation they have?
All the pandas in the United States that aren't in the zoos? Yeah, I guess. We also use rice in it too. I mean, it's if you were to look at it, it's kind of like a Japanese lager too. It's extremely dry, very crushable. You know, it's an easy drinking beer. And with that, you know, that bamboo, like I said, before you interrupted me, you know, like
I corrected you. I didn't interrupt you.
Okay, you corrected me on my beer. Just, you know.
I'm just here to help. I need a helping hand.
So anyhow, I kept my boots on for this because I have to get back to work. So excuse me if I continue. So like I said, that bamboo gives it this nice rustic, dry finish. Because I mean, bamboo is a form of sugar cane, and so the sugar just really dries the beer out and gives it a very unique, dry, crisp flavor. That's what I was trying to say. So yeah, that's Panda Pool Party.
Enough talking. Let's taste.
Cheers. Thanks for all the high praise. So anyhow, like I was saying, so this is our Panda Pool Party. It's our bamboo lager. I mean, have you heard of a bamboo lager before?
I have not.
Oh, so like I said, that's kind of the, you know, the cue there. So really what this is, like I said, it's supposed to be an extremely dry, drinkable beer. It's kind of like a rice lager, like our play on a rice lager. So that rice really dries the beer out for ultimate crushability. So cheers again, man. Cheers.
It is crushable.
So, like I said, you couldn't take your lips off of it, right?
I was pretty proud of it.
Yeah, that's really what that beer is brewed to do. And also you can tell too, even after taking that huge sip, we've still got a ton of head retention. I think the rice kind of gives us that. You know, and like I said, we just brew it to really keep, you know, all that flavor in and that aroma coming out with that nice, rich, fluffy head. The rice coupled with the bamboo kind of gives it this like rustic, earthy dryness. If that makes sense. But
it does have a big sake correlation to it, because
yeah.
I drink a lot of sake, and I do see a lot of that flavor profile that's happening here. But this is definitely very, very much drinkable for sure. I probably snap a couple of these.
That's the point.
Have a good time. I'm glad we can agree on something.
you're still here. You show up. You said I was in jail. You make fun of my mother. You make fun of my beer. You make fun of my brewery. Dude, get the f out of here, man. What are you still doing here? For sake. Thank you.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Behind the Barnyard Doors. We are here with Sahara today. My name is Sarah and I'm one of the carnivore keepers here at Safari West. Sahara is one of our 5 cheetahs here. She is our oldest at 14 years old. And she is an ambassador cat. Now, ambassador animals tend to be the kind of animals that are most used in conservation and education efforts. So she was hand raised by people to be around people, which is why she's so comfortable with me being in here. The rest of our cheetahs were raised by their parents, so they're a little less interested in human interaction, but again, that's why she's so comfortable with us here. Now, cheetahs are known for one thing and one thing only, and that is usually being very, very fast. Everything about a cheetah's body is built to help it run up to 70 miles an hour. So from the tip of Sahara's nose to the tip of her tail, she is designed to go very, very fast. So she's got an enlarged sinus cavity that allows her to get more oxygen into her body faster as she's running. She also has an elongated spine and long legs that allow her to get up to her top speed in 3 strides or less. Sahara also has some really long, beautiful claws that are only what are called semi-retractable, which means that they don't go all the way back in like your house cat at home. It's kind of like wearing running shoes all the time, which is very helpful for her when she's pushing off the ground in order to build up speed quickly. She also has that beautiful long tail that is rounded until it gets to the tip where it goes flat like a rudder. That helps counterbalance her as she's running and also helps her maintain direction as she's running. So at 2 points in the cheetah run cycle, all 4 feet are up off the ground. Once when all 4 feet are extended and once when they're all up underneath her. During that part of the run cycle, she's able to swing her tail to the left or right, change direction very quickly, and keep up with her prey items. Now, prey items for Sahara would be something like a gazelle or an impala, smaller ungulates that are easier for her to catch. She's not going to be going after big things like cattle or buffalo too often, maybe a baby wildebeest. Now, Sahara uses her amazing coloration to help her sneak up on her prey. So she's got all of those spots along her body. Each cheetah has somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 spots on their body, and each spot pattern is completely unique to that cheetah. So that is called disruptive camouflage. It helps break up her outline so that she is able to sneak up on her prey items, get very close to them before she has to start running. Cheetahs can only run for a few seconds at a time at their top speed, so they want to make sure that they are as close as possible to their prey items before they have to take them down. Now, Sahara has a couple other markings on her body that are a little bit different than those spots. The first ones are those tear marks under her eyes. Sahara's tear marks are kind of like athletes that put on eye black, helps refract sunlight. Her eyesight is accurate up to 2 miles, and part of that comes from being able to refract sunlight with those eye spots. She also has at the tip of her tail, her spots turn into nice little rings, and her fur goes from that kind of tawny yellow color to a bright white. That's likely what's called a follow me mark. It's low enough to the ground that if she were to have babies, they'd be able to latch on to that bright white cotton ball and follow mom safely through the tall grass. Now, I've been working with Sahara here for a little over 2 years. She and I get along pretty well. I am her primary keeper, so she and I spend about 5 days a week together hanging out. She's one of my favorite animals to work with because of the close bond that we've been able to work on. We get to hang out like in close quarters like this, which is really nice. But it's also been a lot of fun to learn how to work with an animal that is this size and also handleable by people. Most of our interactions that we do with her outside of being social with her are actually training for veterinary purposes. So Sahara was my first cat that I ever trained a voluntary blood draw on, which was really cool. She's a very, very patient girl, so she was nice and patient with me while I was learning how exactly that was going to work. But she does participate in her own veterinary care. Not only does she have a voluntary blood draw, but she also has a voluntary injection behavior, and she lets us trim her toenails for her. So it's been a learning process for both of us, but it's been a lot of fun for her to be able to help me learn how to do those things. We do have 4 other cheetahs here at Safari West. They are all in off-display enclosures right now because we are hoping that we can start a breeding program here. They came to us from another facility in the United States. We're hoping that we are able to start a breeding program to help keep the conservation of cheetahs under human care alive and thriving. Hey, Mama. So that sound you just heard was Sahara purring. Cats purr for a variety of reasons. Typically the one most people think of is their house cat at home purring when they're content. Based on her body language, I think we can say she's pretty comfortable sitting here with us. Now, cheetahs can also make a wide variety of other vocalizations as well. The most common one is chirping. They will chirp when they are trying to communicate with each other, whether it's between family members or with other cats. They can also growl and they can bark as well. But the most common ones are chirping and purring. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in Sahara today. I hope you all are being safe and staying well. We can't wait for you to come back and visit us here at Safari West, and have a great day. Thank you, Miss.
I'm here with Vicky Rook, and we're about to talk about the Dayglow. As you can see, the crazy tiger that's on this. Thanks for coming here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And here's one of the guys that has brewed the beer himself and says that Dayglow is one of his favorite beers.
Talking about beer with John Kokendorfer. We're sitting here today talking about Dayglow IPA. It's my go-to. You got your pounders, your 12 ounces, and your bombers, and then of course draft. We got your tropical, you got fruity, juicy. What kind of juice though? Who knows? It is 7.4% alcohol, so I think it's in the Goldilocks zone for IPAs, frankly. So the malts in this beer are our Great Western Premium 2-Row, which we use as the base for almost all of our beers. A good amount of malted white wheat, and a small amount of C15, a very light crystal malt. The hops are Mosaic, Eldorado, and Centennial, and then an amount of hop extract to bitter the beer with. It's not just a winter beer, it's not just a summer beer. It's bright and juicy, but that's good all times of year, I think.
Before we start this interview, we're about to chug the Dayglow. Cheers!
Cheers!
Haven't had a head rush like that.
You ready for it now? I think that's a yes.
Okay.
Give it to us. Tell us about Elysian, what you guys been up to.
So Elysian started in 1996 up in Seattle with Joe and Dave. Pretty cool guys. I haven't got to meet them yet, just virtually, since I've only been with the company since January. We've got some cool stuff coming down the pipeline, but I mean, Dayglow is one of our beers that we've had around for a while. People get super stoked on this one, and to be completely honest, our sales went up like crazy after the Tiger King came out.
Hi, I'm Joe Zaka, one of the founders of Elysian. Started back in 1990 when I moved to Seattle. Was home brewing on Alki Beach with a couple of friends of mine, one of which opened up another brewery in town, and the other guy was Dick Cantwell. We were messing around with beers. We were talking about opening up our own brewery. I was in commercial banking. He was brewing over at Pike Place Brewery, and decided that it actually sounded like a pretty good idea. Met Dave Bueller.
I was at a conference in Portland, Oregon, and Dick Cantwell was there, and I knew Dick. He had just gotten the head brewer job for Big Time. Dick asked me what I wanted to do, and I brought up, well, I have a plan that I've started for a brew pub. And he immediately said, you need to meet Joe.
We stumbled upon Elysian as one of the names, and it was a place where the gods took their favorite heroes when they died. You'd go to the Elysian fields, and during the day you'd hack each other to bits with swords, and then at night your bodies would come back together and you'd toast a beer all night long.
And then it stuck. Nothing else usurped it. No other name was better or bigger. It just by default became Elysian Brewing Company. By early 1995, we had incorporated. We had a business plan. We were getting shareholder interest, and we were starting to raise capital. And we opened a year later, which is pretty fast in any day and age to open a brewery that fast.
I think when we opened Capitol Hill, one of the things, one of the main tenets we had is that it was always going to be a welcoming place. We wanted to see all walks of life, all different political views, socioeconomic status, whatever it was, feel welcome at the Capitol Hill Brewery. And that was one of the things about Elysian, I think, that was big. It wasn't just for beer geeks, it wasn't just for regular people, it was for everybody. Within 6 months, we got asked to be the brew pub within GameWorks.
GameWorks was a partnership between Sega, Universal Studios, and DreamWorks. And they were looking for a brewery to be a partner. We came to the table and ultimately got the position there at their location. We got out of GameWorks 5 years later. That void in our personal business space allowed us to open Tangletown. Tangletown is now our second oldest location. It's 13 years old, I want to say, still with some of the original employees, and just a fabulous place. Pioneer Square was in a position where it was a little on the downside, and there might be opportunity both for real estate and also to grow our brand locally in Seattle, to open another location.
So Elysian Fields is our smallest brewery. It's a 10 hectoliter system. That's 8.5 barrels. It's nestled right next to the 2 stadiums here in Seattle. One of the beauties of that is that between all of our pubs, we can pour through an entire Fields batch over the course of a good weekend. So that gives us a lot of room, and it relieves a lot of the pressure of worrying about whether or not the beer's going to sell, because it'll sell. Well, at Elysian Fields, we brew whatever we want, and what that is usually up to the brewer. The trick is hiring the right brewer who's got the creative mind and isn't satisfied with everything they see on the market these days and wants to try something different. The job of the brewer at Fields isn't to take it from idea to market. Their job is to throw an idea out there and then give us more opportunities to say yes or no to beer styles. And I think a lot of our beers have actually come from there. If you look at the history of Space Dust and Dayglow, those all came from Elysian Fields.
Elysian Fields got us to a lot of drinkers that had never had Elysian before. People that were just going to a football game or a motocross or to a baseball game, and here we are, so they come in and have a beer, and guess what? They could pretty much only get what's either brewed on hand or brought in from our other breweries. We were already brewing with an agreement with New Belgium and brewing some beers there to allow us to continue to grow. And through that growth, we were able to convince the banker world that we were able to sustain a pretty big loan to grow what is now Airport Way.
Alrighty, here we are down in Georgetown at the home of Elysian Brewery's new production brewery, pouring the slab to the grain silos. And here's a bottle of Men's Room Red that we are going to Jimmy Hoffa here in the corner of the slab.
As of late, we just took over a new building, doubling the size of the space. So we had 35,000 square feet, we're adding another 38. and that will be for moving our bottling line to spread things out a little bit more in the spaces that we're in. We doubled the size of the cooler that we have also, which was really needed. But then we're also adding around a 12,000 square foot area for barrel aging and bottle conditioning beer. So we have 4 fooders to date. We've got probably 60 or 80 barrels, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Each of the restaurants has a personality, kind of like the beers do. So Capitol Hill's kind of the dive bar, Tangletown's the neighborhood place, Elysian Fields is the big sports bar, and I think they represent different personalities that Elysian as a brand has. Like our beers, all the labels look different.
So here we are, opening new markets and starting to work cross-brewing of the Anheuser-Busch plants. So the future is big. Really looking forward to not only taking established brands that some of you know into a much bigger arena, but introducing the world to brands that they haven't even thought of coming from us.
I think that when you look back at Elysian's early history, Elysian was one of the first breweries to really start taking advantage of having the hop farms so close. I think when you see these sort of Northwest interpretations of styles that tend to be much hoppier and a little more bitter, I think Elysian was instrumental in that. This sort of reinvention of what Elysian is has to happen every few years, or else they wouldn't be Elysian.
Hi guys, my name is Erica Diefer. I'm the Hoofstock Supervisor here at Safari West. We're going to be showing you one of our giraffe training sessions today. Right behind me I have Molly, one of our giraffe keepers, and Gabby, another one of our giraffe keepers. And we're going to be doing some hoof trimming on our bull giraffe here. His name is Kubwa. Now Kubwa is a star trainer. He absolutely loves engaging in training sessions, and we hope that we'll be able to show you that today with this training session. Giraffes are very visual animals, so typically when we have them in large open areas, they like to check out their surroundings before they start on their training session. What they're going to start with is something called a target. This is a pretty simple behavior that most of our giraffe, among many of our other animals here at Safari West, are trained to do. The target essentially allows us to position them in different ways so we can get an up close and personal look at every single animal. It gives them a stronger relationship with our keepers. It allows us to really hone in on those behaviors, and we can use the target to develop it into a multitude of other behaviors as well. So Molly's trying to get Kubwa's attention with his name. Our animals absolutely know their names and respond to it. And then what is expected from this behavior when she asks for target is for him to just touch the tip of his nose to that bright yellow ball on the end of that stick. Now he's very good at letting us know when he is ready to continue training. Thankfully, these animals are really intelligent and they know exactly what we're asking for once they've learned a behavior. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get to that point, but once they understand what we're asking for, everybody gets excited, including the animal. So as you can see, Molly didn't even have to ask for Kubwa to step up onto that block. He saw the block and knew what behavior was expected of him, and so he automatically put that foot up on the block to allow our keeper to manipulate his foot and trim it up. So Gabby's doing some cleaning right now on his hoof, just like you would with a horse. This is the first step to be able to trim a giraffe hoof. Now in the wild, giraffes are traveling much longer distances than they would under human care. And a lot of that has to do with looking for important resources for them to survive. Here at Safari West, they do have quite a bit of acreage to roam around, but their hooves don't always get worn in the same way that they would in the wild. So we keep a really close eye on our giraffe hooves to make sure that they are in as good of condition as we possibly can keep them. And one of the ways we do this is through training these behaviors. So Gabby's gonna inspect that hoof, make sure everything looks nice and clean, make sure everything looks normal. If there's any concerns, we'll of course talk with our veterinary staff about it to figure out what our next steps are. She's gonna go ahead and trim that hoof up to make it more symmetrical and allow him to walk easier and wear it down more normally. Now, I don't know if you guys can hear what's happening behind me, but every time Molly asks for a cue, which is a behavior, so either targeting, stepping, allowing Gabby to touch his hoof, if Kubwa responds well to that cue, then she gives what's called a bridge. And a bridge is essentially what lets him know that he's doing what we want. And he knows when he gets that bridge, which in his case is simply the word good, he's gonna get a nice, delicious treat. Now, Kubwa's favorite treats are carrots. So that is what he is getting for his training session. This is not something he normally gets for part of his diet. It's something that's a little bit extra. It's one of the reasons that he loves training so much, because he knows that he's gonna get this exciting treat, and all he has to do is put his foot up on a block and get a lovely pedicure. We love showing off our tall blonde friends here at Safari West. They are quite an amazing species. If you aren't aware, they are the tallest land animal, reaching heights of 18 to 20 feet sometimes. It's pretty darn impressive, much taller than any of us, as you can see clearly with Kubwa. And Kubwa is not even our tallest giraffe here at Safari West. Now, giraffes are a really unique species. They are one of 2 species in their family, Giraffidae. The only other species that's even remotely related to giraffe is something called an okapi. They're also known as a forest giraffe. Now, giraffes are really common in zoological facilities across the United States and across the world. And a lot of people don't realize that their populations are actually decreasing. And one of the reasons we are so thankful to have such an amazing herd at Safari West is so that we can raise awareness of their conservation status. Giraffe populations have lost about 40% in the last 3 decades, and that's quite substantial, and unfortunately it's going to continue to decline. They have a lot of threats in the wild, anything from poaching to habitat destruction to encroachment from humans. While everybody loves giraffes, I can't think of anybody who doesn't like this beautiful animal. A lot of people don't realize that they need a lot of help. So this is how Molly lets Kubwa know that his session is going to be switching to the other foot. She asks him to back up off that block, which, as you can see, he responded to fantastically. And then Gabby just moved that block over, and Kubwa visually knows, now that the block is on the other side, that it's time for that other foot to go up. They don't always have the best aim with those feet, but he doesn't mind us helping fix that location. So Kubwa is part of our giraffe herd, and our giraffe herd works with facilities all across the United States to keep it healthy. So we are an AZA facility. That means we're accredited by the Associations of Zoos and Aquariums, and we will work with facilities all across the United States to make sure that we have a healthy genetic population. So when we needed a new giraffe bull for our herd, we reached out to somebody known as the SSP coordinator for giraffes. So that's the Species Survival Plan Coordinator. And that person is in charge of all of the giraffes in AZA zoological facilities, looks at the genetics of each of those individuals, and makes recommendations of who they think would keep that population the healthiest. So we got a recommendation to have Kubwa join our herd. He actually came from Southern California, the living desert. And we were pretty darn lucky that we got him, because he is quite an amazing individual. He has a huge personality. And the living desert really did an amazing job keeping him happy and healthy until we got him, and we were happy to stay connected with those keepers. And hopefully we'll even get some of those keepers watching this video so they can say hello to Kubwa as well. As some of you might be right-handed or left-handed, we tend to notice trends with our giraffes as well as among many of our other animals. They tend to have certain feet that they prefer to do training with. So you can see he seems to have a preference for that front right hoof over the front left. And sometimes it depends on the day, and sometimes it's consistent. It really depends on that individual animal.
What target?
So we'll give him one more try. One of the really important things with our training program here at Safari West is we always want to make sure it's the animal's choice to participate in that training program. We never want to force them to be part of this. We don't feel that that is proper training for the animal, and we don't feel that that helps with a positive relationship. One thing these animals are really great at telling us is when they don't feel like training as well. So we learn this by watching their behaviors. Our keepers are very well versed in giraffe behavior as well as each individual's behavior, so they're able to figure out when that animal might say that they're all done playing.
Beautiful party people, this is Ryan Tierney with the Lagunitas Brewing Company coming to you live from my iPhone. Thank you all for being here and attending this beautiful thing that the Rockstar Beer Festivals have put together, and thank you to them for having us and being a part of this thing during these uncertain times. I mean, we don't know, everything is changing every day, and all we have is each other, so you know, let's lean on each other, let's support each other, and overall love each other, because we're all here, we're all in this together, you know. That's, you know, power in numbers. We gotta rise up. So yeah, thanks again for having me, you guys, and let's kick it off with the little Lagunitas saga. Tony McGee is from Chicago, Illinois. He moved to San Francisco, California, to pursue a music career in the late 80s. He studied music composition and wanted to pursue playing live music for people. Wasn't paying the bills at the time, so he had to make do with a printing job that he worked at in the city. And in 1992, he was gifted a homebrew kit from his brother-in-law, which that's where everything changed for him. He ended up brewing these beers for his friends and family. They all loved them, and he then decided, after he was kicked out of his kitchen from his wife, home brewing can be kind of messy. The kitchen was a disaster, and his wife was like, "You gotta go, man. This is not working." And so anyways, he ended up pursuing his brewing dream, and he bought a spot in the town of Lagunitas. I don't know if any of you know what Lagunitas is translated to, but it is Little Lake. So it is this little town, one stop sign town, just north of San Francisco, probably 30 minutes north on the one. Beautiful drive up the coast. And he started brewing in Lagunitas, started the company, and was peddling his beer in his little Ford Ranger, and all of this biomass was being drained into the septic tank of the building at the time. And he the whole town, after it had erupted from all this biomass being in there, all the yeast and all this activity happening within the septic tanks, he was basically asked to leave Lagunitas, the town of, because he bursted the septic tanks, and he ended up replumbing it. He did the right thing. He replumbed it, and he moved the brewery to Petaluma because he needed to expand. People were loving the beer, so he moved to Petaluma, where you can Petaluma, but you can't Petaluma. I mean, wait, you can Petaluma, but you can't Petaluma. There you go. Dad jokes, love them. And so he then, in 1995, started brewing Lagunitas IPA. He hung his hat on that for being the flagship. We were the first IPA to be deemed like that was our flagship beer. So that's a pretty cool thing. We love hops. We are a very hop forward brewery. We love hops and their cousin, which you all know, biological cousin to hops. So in that light, we will move on to the beer. So with this beer, this beer is called Hazy Wonder. We are very excited about this beer. It's an unfiltered New England style IPA, if you will. And as you all know, out in the beer industry, hazies are the craze right now. Everybody loves them. They're great. This hazy in particular is not one that you need a spoon to drink. However, it still has that nice hazy feel, and that richness to it. So in this beer, we have the fabulous Sabro hop, which is a fairly new hop in the world of commercial brewing. Citra, Cashmere, which is also a pretty rare hop, and Comet. All of these hops provide for a smooth, tropical fruitiness that you're going to kind of get once you start tasting it. Slightly bitter, which I love, and I think is very important in when you are showcasing an IPA. It's densely hazy, but the phenomenon behind it is that it's wonderfully light on the mouth. It's just got this way of just navigating through your taste buds, keeping you satiated, yet still coming back for more. And the ABV is right there in that sweet spot at 6%, which is awesome. So, and I wanted to finish it off with a little story about the dog. I know a lot of you are probably familiar with our dog. This was Tony's old dog. He ended up, basically what happened was before OSHA was very prominent in the world of just small breweries and things of that nature, in this small little town of NorCal, Petey was cruising around and they were doing a brew tour, and there was a kid that fell into one of the mash tuns, and Petey jumped in after him. Petey was injured at the time because of jumping in after him and saving him. He was ultimately he ended up passing because of that. So we pay homage to him every day by having him as our mascot. And that story is just complete bullshit. There's a lot of different stories about the dog. The dog is actually back when Tony started the brewery, he was looking on the internet that was relatively new at the time, and it was clip art. It was one of the most viewed clip art, which was this dog, and so he ended up using that, and we just have fun with the story about the dog. We are pro dog. We love dogs, and when you come up to the brewery, either in Petaluma or Chicago, we're a dog-friendly facility. But that's kind of the story behind the dog. And if you go on a tour at the brewery, you might get a different story, maybe tweak, use your imagination, have fun with it. But that's the story behind the dog. So again, thank you guys for being here, and thanks to the Rockstar Beer Festival production company for making this all possible. Stay safe out in this uncertain time of our world, and we love you.